Okay, I'd like to call the Westchester Zoning Commission special meeting for September 28th, 2020 to order. Mr. Dawson, roll call, please.
Mr. Hahn.
Here.
Mr. Groh.
Here.
Mr. Reiner.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Wyden.
Here.
Okay, we have one case, the Zoning Commission case FDP 09-20-A, Westchester Town Center. The residence is at the clock tower. Mr. Dawson, would you please raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Excellent. And then we'll need you to swear in anyone that plans on giving testimony.
All those who give testimony, please stand with your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, Mr. Dawson, if we could get your staff report for this case, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The site's located along Center Point Drive and Westchester Town Center Drive, approximately 900 feet east of Civic Center Boulevard. The site consists of two parcels totaling 8.2 acres. The site's characterized as flat and vacant open space. We have a few ground view pictures of the site, a view to the southeast, a view to the southwest, and a view to the south as well, and another one to the west. The trustees' approval of the preliminary development plan established the density, subdivision layout, street widths, and all common elements and features. The proposed final development plan maintains consistency with the previously approved plan and conditions, including further details that were required at the time of my report was first published in regard to the construction staging area, exact unit mix, the unit mix for each floor plan, and the specifications on interior finishes and specifications on the outdoor and indoor amenities. I'll transition now to the complete final development plan. So as we can see, the site with the street layout. The site civil engineering plans, including grading, the detailed landscaping plan, including streetscape design, a signage plan, and that concludes their proposal. The county engineer has stated they will require the plans for the off-site public right-of-way improvements to be submitted and approved at a designated time during the phasing of construction. Additionally, detailed civil engineering plans still need to be reviewed and approved prior to construction. The engineer stated that the detention ponds located to the north of the site were constructed to carry the capacity for the proposed development, but still need to be verified by the applicant's plans for the proper storm pipe sizing. The applicant will also need to meet all other county agencies' comments at the permitting stage. Additionally, the sidewalks located along the perimeter of the site are located on private property and are intended for public use. However, a public use easement has not been noted on the final development plan or documented and submitted to staff at this time. Therefore, a public use easement shall be illustrated on the final plat, or a document shall be recorded prior to a final zoning inspection. The sign plan submitted is not consistent with the amount that is typically allowed in a residential district or with previously approved multifamily residential PUDs. Therefore, consideration should be given to restrict the signage to what is typical of previous approvals, which includes the proposed building signs, And then only 2 ground signs located at the site access ways. Zoning Commission is to approve with modifications, or deny the submitted final development plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Dawson?
I do on the signage. On the signs, are some of those temporary construction signs, like the Hills property, or is that intended to be there after construction is complete?
No, temporary construction and real estate signs are permitted at a staff level during construction phase.
So the drawing we saw, those were permanent?
These are proposed as permanent signage.
Okay, I want clarification on it. And how much over are we on the signage?
Typically, we've only allowed 2 ground signs. Typically, they're 8 foot high with display area consistent with the frontage of the site. And typically, those are only permitted at the access ways for residential PUDs. The 3rd ground sign that they're proposing is located on the corner of Center Loop and Center Point and Center Loop. As you can see, they have complementary signage along the 5th story of the building facing west, and also a blade sign at that location as well.
But under the current PUD, those building signs are not allowed, correct?
No, under the PUD, they'd be subject to Article 17, which allows 4% of the building wall on the frontage, and they're well within their limits on the building signs.
On the building signs, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions for staff? No?
No questions.
Okay, very good. Would the applicant please come forward? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Michael Kopfer, 4901 Hunt Road, Blue Ash, Ohio. Thanks for having us this evening, gentlemen. We're happy to be back here. So when it comes to our plan and taking the preliminary plan that you so graciously approved, we fine-tuned it for the final development plan here. We want you to know that we did take all of your comments and suggestions into account. For example, we specifically looked at the parking, because that was a little bit of a concern we heard for the preliminary plan. And so we were able to come up with 13 additional parking spots on site. We added a couple here. They're shaded in around where we added it. We added some there, and a couple there. So we were able to come up with 13 additional on-site parking spaces. In addition, as we fine-tuned the buildings, we ended up eliminating 9 units. So we went and we made the corner rooftop terrace here, instead of being 1 unit, that's taken up the space of 2 units. So it's going to be even bigger now. So that took us from 335 down to 326 units. So by reducing 9 units and adding 13 parking spaces, we improved the parking ratio. It was on-site 1.34, now it's up to 1.42. And the total with on-site as well as the perimeter went from 1.69 to 1.78. So we think we've been able to fine-tune it with your suggestions. We greatly appreciate that. So looking through the conditions, the only point that we have questions with or would like to discuss further with you tonight is just the signage. And as we concur with staff as far as the building signs go, our issue is we would like to, this is not a typical RPUD or multifamily site, because normally you'd have like one street kind of distance. We're surrounded by, the primary street. So our marketing team and management team has respectfully asked for her to have, signs here at the entries, but also to have a smaller ground sign in this location right here. We think with all the traffic around, this would be very helpful. I'd like to have Jim Obert, our Vice President of Planning, discuss kind of how we came up with that.
Mr. Ober, please state your name and address for the record. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Jim Obert, 4901 Hunt Road, same address as Michael. Appreciate you hearing us out here on this. As we looked at the site, because of the uniqueness of the site and the downtown context, actually I went to section 20.0912, ground signs in your zoning code, and item A, there states all the signage, and it calls for 301 plus feet of frontage, 3 signs, each not to exceed 48 square feet, or 1 sign not to exceed 64 square feet, and 1 sign not to exceed 48. So that's how we came to the second sign there at the corner, center point in Center Loop Drive. Our interpretation of the zoning is basically there. So that's we respectfully would ask that you consider allowing us to have that, which I believe would be a modification to the staff report to allow that second sign if you was so inclined to permit it.
You mean third sign, right?
Well, it'd be the second one on Center Point Drive. So yes, it'd be 3 ground signs total, 2 on Center Point and 1 on Center Loop. And I believe the square footages of those all comply with those requirements of 48 square feet and 64 square feet.
Actually, I don't think so, but it's 64 square feet, right?
64, so the 8 by 8, the one at the main drives on either side would be
Okay.
the 64 square
Oh,
feet.
the 64 square feet, right.
And then the
right.
second one is permitted to be 48 square feet, so 6 feet 11 by 6 feet 11, I think gets you right at 48 square feet.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Gotcha.
Happy to answer any other questions you might have on that.
Okay, very good. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, that was the only item.
Okay, thank you very much.
So on that item, that would just be condition 14. It currently says 2 signs that are, and we would ask for it to say 3 signs. Or 2 at that, and 1, you know, we're committed to the smaller size on the 3rd sign.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you'd like to add? No, you're good. You went and snuck back to your seat there before I had a chance to look down. Okay. All right, are there any proponents that would like to get up and speak on behalf of this case? Seeing there is none, are there any opponents that would like to speak against this case? Anyone with neutral information? Okay, seeing there is no one, we will close the public portion of our meeting and go into our deliberations. Mr. Reiner, thoughts, comments?
I like the whole project. I really myself don't have a problem with the additional sign. Other than that, I think it's a great project.
Go ahead.
3, 4, 5 signs, I don't have a problem with it, but if it's not within zoning to have more than 2, then I'm not sure. Tim, is that against zoning to have more than 2 signs?
Well, we have flexibility within the PUD, but typically, on previous approvals of residential PUDs, we made that character allowable to the access ways, which is in the character of a residential subdivision. We understand that this is not your typical residential single-family dwelling type of subdivision, and typically there's allowance for more of that signage.
Okay.
But we like to stay within that character, being an R PUD rather than a C PUD. What the applicant is proposing is consistent with a commercial district rather than a residential district, which allows more signage. But again, this is a PUD. It's a unique site, and it's going to need to be considered as far as their frontage.
Okay. Mr. Grow?
Yeah, I think the unique nature of what it is in the exposure of all 3 sides, I'm in favor of making the exception to to have a third sign, just to the general nature of basically it's an island, and it's surrounded by all the streets, and so I think it's an unusual situation. So I don't think it fits the gloves like things normally do. So that's my feeling.
I would agree. I think, I don't know that it gains a lot, but it doesn't hurt anything, and kind of states the obvious. Obviously, it's an apartment complex, but I think it's such a minimal thing, and it's such an unusual site. I have no issue with it, and I'm like Mr. Reiner, I love the project. I think it's exciting to see it come in.
Okay. I guess I would be inclined to agree with you on that. You know, you're looking at something that someone could technically come from any which direction. It is it is an island out there, and if you're coming from the south, there's a sign there for people north, west, east. I think the last thing I want to get into is setting precedents, but in this case, I really don't think it's a precedence just because of the unique nature. Yeah, so, okay. Was there any other issues that anyone wanted to discuss? Comments, questions?
The
Other
public
than the
easement?
sign? The public easement, yeah. You're good, would you mind reapproaching? Thanks. Are you good with the public easement?
We are good with the public easement around the periphery, yes.
What about going through?
We're not good with it going through, and that was, the trustees seemed to be okay with that when we discussed that with them as well. But if we go, let me see if I can find it.
We originally discussed going through, and then there was a change to that, right?
Correct. So we are building the detailed sidewalk with the pavers and the landscaping all the way around the perimeter of the entire site. So we are good with having the public access easement around the entire site along the perimeter, but not up through the middle, because we feel we need to be able to, this is the backyard for the
Right.
community. We need to be able to control that space and who's parking there and what's going on in our pool, and our outdoor lawn amenities are back there with yoga and Pilates and stuff like that. So we currently have no plans to fence it off or to stop someone who's going to walk through. But if we had people that were maybe being unruly or whatever, if we have a public access easement across there, we have no way to really control that, where if it's all private, we do. If someone's quietly walking through, we don't have a problem. But so we understand around the periphery's front yard, we're a pivotal spot in the downtown here, so we're actively connecting all this. We're doing all these crosswalks as part of our improvements. We're kind of what's missing down there right now. So this is literally going to connect all of these inlets to be able to come here. And with all the added parking we're adding right there, it's really going to help with all the functions that are hopefully post-COVID will be back again at the park there. So we're all good with the perimeter, but going up through the middle we think would be problematic.
Mr. Chairman, if I could clarify for the board.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the consideration for the trustees was to add that condition. During their discussions, the resolution, the draft resolution was not modified. So this proposal is consistent with that approval.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you a question, Austin?
Yeah.
So John Smith walks in there, walking across, and if there's a public access easement, falls down and breaks his leg, right? Is it any different if there's a public access versus it's just their private property?
No,
I mean,
not to the township.
Okay.
There's no real difference.
Okay.
There may be to the property owner, but that is something that they're okay with.
Yeah.
So we don't have any legal concern with not requiring a public access easement through the inside of this lot.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the rationale. I don't think you should have a public walkway going through there. I think it's better the way they've got it designed.
Well, I can tell you what's gonna happen. They're gonna come.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy going for, if someone wants to go to that clock tower and they're parked over there, do you
Yeah,
think
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
walk
walk
through.
around?
Yeah.
Or do you think they're gonna walk through?
Yeah,
They're gonna walk through.
but it's gonna make it a little less inviting. I think you're right. Just makes it a little less inviting, so.
Right. Well, yeah, right. I mean, you don't wanna make it,
Plus, if they've got an unruly crowd, I would assume from a policing standpoint, it's gonna be easier to call the police and say, we need these people off the property, versus if you had a sidewalk that we dictated through there, it'd be a little bit more complicated, right?
agreed,
So, I agree with them.
agreed. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay. If there's nothing else for discussion, would someone be willing to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve case number FDP 09-20-A, the residents at Clock Tower, with a change to item 14 to reflect, instead of 2, we have 3 signs, and that all conditions meet the township's, how would you phrase that? The township's approval?
Recommendations, accept.
Yeah.
In other agencies' recommendations? Okay, okay.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. And the question is on the adoption of FDP 09-20-A Westchester Town Center Residences Clock Tower. Be approved by the zoning commission based on staff comments, other agencies' recommendations, and change to item number 14, which will now read 3 8-foot-high monument signs. Should we clarify that exactly, that the same dimensions? Because that other one's only 6'11".
Yes, I will modify the condition to reflect the proposal.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
It'll be voted on at the next hearing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion?
No, sir?
Mr. Dawson, roll call, please.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Grow,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes?
Mr. Wyden.
Yes.
Congratulations, motion carries 5-0.
Yeah,
Yep, wish you guys the best of luck moving forward.
yeah, I'm excited to see it come out of the ground. It looks really good.
Okay, there is no there's no additional information or communication, so could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
question on the adjournment of the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say no. We are adjourned.
Short meeting.